Hey, welcome back to another episode of Don't Trip Sis. I'm here, Ashley Berger. Always has something to say with my other sis.
Hey, this is Ashley Dominique. I'm a handful, but I'm sweet. And I'm here with my sis, and let's get into it.
Yes, let's get into it. Okay, y'all. So what we are talking about on this episode is a episode that we're probably gonna get mixed responses to, but it's the no other than the wonderful, the interesting, the kind of giving us the same story all the time type of person, the one and only Mr. Tyler Perry. Now, okay, let's say this. I am a filmmaker, so I am not going to go hard on him, but we are going to talk about some of his films, some of his TV shows, preferably his latest one that just came out on Netflix called Madea's Destination Wedding. Now, Ash, you and I both watched this, right? And we are going to get into what we thought about this particular movie and then some of his other previous films and previous TV shows that are currently out now. So let's jump into it, sis. So Madea's Destination Wedding, this is the first comeback of Madea since he quote unquote retired her, even though he did have Madea's Homecoming, I guess that was also on Netflix. And I have mixed feelings about Tyler Perry. I do not knock that he is helping people of color to be in the industry and act and all. I think that's beautiful. I'm here for all of that. Yes. But there are some things that I have some about when it comes to Tyler Perry and what he writes and directs and produces and whatnot. So with Madea's Destination Wedding, what do you think about this? Because I know for me, I watched it and I had a couple he's like once or twice. For real. And then after that, I was like, the whole time I was like, what in the world is going on? I am so confused. This makes no sense. This backstory is super random. These scenes are like 20 minutes long for no particular reason. And there's no substance to this. What is going on? I was mad confused. So let's get into it, sis. What do you think? What was your thoughts?
Most definitely. For me, Madea's Destination Wedding, I was anticipating it so much. I'm counting down the days to July 11th. Like, it's about to drop. I can't wait. I started watching it. It started off strong with Madea being Madea. Is Mr. Brown there? Their chemistry is always great on screen. It's super hilarious. Just the parking lot scene to the gas station scene. I was like, Madea's crazy. She's being Madea. And I'm appreciating that. And then it just makes a turn. The storyline just start getting random from there, from Brian's interactions with the ex-wife, the mother of his kids, to the kids' roles. I'm just like, how did we get here? How did the son get to where he's at? There was nothing building up in previous movies from Boo 2 that gave the impression this was where they were going with this character, or for it to make sense that this is where he's at. I guess they were trying to make it seem like he was overly sheltered, but in the Boo movies, he wasn't really overly sheltered because they didn't really touch bases on the brother's role. He was like an in and out character, like a scene filler. In a lot of those movies, you've seen him very random when they just want to remind you he exists by making sure his character was present on screen. But outside of that, he didn't really have much to say. Even on, I believe it's Diary of a Mad Black Woman, when the kids were on there, he had the son had very small roles compared to Tiffany's, the daughter's side. I don't even know the son's name.
Right.
That's how small his role has been. So at that point, it's like, could have just had a daughter that you're having issues with. If you're not going to touch bases that you have a son where you have the problem child, and then the one that you don't have any headaches from. But they got real random. How did she get to this point where she has this relationship that's turning into a shotgun wedding? A very expensive shotgun wedding. It was a destination wedding. Who is this random guy she met? There was no backstory there. It's like they tried to touch on that by saying, oh, like the mom knew him and stuff. But it didn't lead up to what they exposed with like the mom trying to make sure she got married to solidify the deal she has with the stepdad that's about to become her ex-husband. Just the contingents that they had set in place in their marriage. And I'm like, it's just not making sense. And once again, they kind of like dissolved the character of the son. They had him in there with Mr. Brown, but I feel like this focus was more on Mr. Brown's character than the son. In each clip, they did have them together. I almost forgot the son was there because there's just Mr. Brown is a key player by himself. He shines bright in what he does. That's a very amazing actor. I feel like the characters wasn't written well into this movie. There was like shoving multiple um, different seasons into one movie, which I've seen in previous TV shows when they start adding too much in an episode and you feel like you're watching a whole season in one episode and you're like, you could have just played this out. It'd have made more sense. You shoved it in there you like crammed it in there and it's not making sense. Or now what? Now that you got all that in there, what am I supposed to expect from the next episode? It's just, you could have just played this out. I definitely feel like they should have either gave backstory to how they met, like showed her. A lot of movies start off like their intro might be pictures of like, oh, this is her at college. They don't even have to be actual scenes of like dialogue or anything, just like a 2-second clip of showing like what's happened since the last time we saw them. Oh, Tiffany went off to college, and then like show like a chance of her like encounter of meeting the potential fiance, a picture of that where like they might have bumped into each other and then she introduced it to the mom and be like, oh, okay, like we can piece it together off the pictures. They met off screen, obviously, and now we're at the point where they're introducing the dad into the fold of meeting the fiance. And then the role they had him written for, like the super disrespectful other half. I honestly hated that to the point where I'm like, because I'm like, regardless, him and Tiffany had got to a point where there was some respect finally established between them, between father and daughter. And for her to get with someone who's completely disrespectful and she's not saying anything, and she's such a vocal character in the past, and in this movie she doesn't have a voice, I was confused.
Agreed.
I was absolutely confused because she was checking people left, right, and was so 10 toes down in the previous movies where she's like just outspoken, and here she is, she's like a mouse. And I'm like, this is weird. Like when he walked up and was introduced to the dad and he's like, excuse my language, he's like, what's up, my nigga? Like, first off, why would you have, unless he was told a lot of pillow talk where he's getting at him crazy, you don't see that ever. Don't come at especially because her dad's been the main parent in her life. You're not going to get away with disrespecting a daddy's girl. And she might not have been portrayed as 100% daddy girl in the past, but deep down inside, it was just because of her issues with her mom when she became a teenager and she realized, I got mom issues. But she was, in a sense, some type of daddy's girl. That's the guy who's, the parent who's been there for her. That's the guy who's been a stand-up person in her life. And he's been a great father. So I didn't understand why they let that disrespect play out without her going, hey, don't say that, that's my dad. And then him just been shown like, okay, she's saying something, but he's just an a-hole character. And then let it play out like that because it was just so random for him he just was blatantly disrespectful to so many people. That had nothing to do with them. And it had a lot to do with his mother. It would have made more sense if he would have been disrespectful towards the women than the men, since he had mother issues. But he respected the women. He walked up to Madea and was like, introduced to her and was like, "What's up, Ma?" And that's actually a new generation's like sign of respect. I had someone call me that was younger than me. He was like, "Hey, Ma." I'm like, do not call me that because I'm older than you. I feel like you calling me grandma. Like, do not call me Ma. And another person told me, they were cracking up. They were like, "No, it's like a sign of respect because you're older." I said, exactly. The fact that you even saying that, your explanation even sounds like I'm old. She was like, I said, being older, anything aging me, yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And she's like, I get it from your point of view. We don't think of it like that. Obviously, until you just said that, like, oh, okay, someone older might not think it's as respectful, might think like you're pinpointing out their age. He showed a little bit more respect to Madea, but then turned around and disrespected Mr. Brown. And I'm like, why is they writing this character like this? Like, he could have came up and just been too nonchalant and left out the cussing. the cursing towards them um, until after the first encounter, and then after the first impression, then let that type of stuff flow to where it could be like, oh, now he's just too comfortable. He met us and he feels like it's good. Instead of starting off like that and it's just wild. Because his character wasn't even written to be like a bad person. If he was supposed to be like an outrageous character, that would have made sense. But no, they turned around, was like, he's actually, no, doesn't even have a criminal record. He's upstanding citizen. Owns a business and all this stuff. It was like, okay, so where is this, what is that persona? I don't get it. It was all over the place. My main thing I didn't like about that movie, it's just certain scenes did play out too long, and I know you're in film, so you're like counting the clock on that. Why is this so long? But certain scenes were extremely long for no reason. That should have been cut out during editing, like the scene where the daughter's showing them the dress that she didn't even pick out.
Right.
And and the mom's over talking her. There's nothing that led up to what the mom is doing. They should have been showing like scenes of like her having phone conversations or text message threads where they're showing her looking at her phone constantly throughout the trip, or on the phone throughout the trip, having issues with the ex-husband or the soon-to-be ex-husband, showing the tension there, why, and lead to the suspicions. They were suspicious off the bat, and they didn't build up to why anyone had these suspicions, which made it a weird storyline to follow. Because I'm like, what is the storyline? Right. Are we Madea having a hard time leaving the country? Are we Tiffany getting to a shotgun wedding? She might be pregnant. Are we Brian having issues, watching his kids grow up and letting them become adults and live freely? Or having issues with what storyline is this? Is there more than one, or is this all together? I don't even know what's happening here. I get average family dynamics can be as extra and as complex and can have all this going on. But this is a movie. Right. So let's pick a focus point.
Right, yeah.
How did you feel, Sis? I know we discussed this before, right after watching it, but how do you feel about the current Tyler Perry movie?
Well, I didn't like it. I didn't get it. I also was kind of looking forward to it. The trailer looked funny, it looked appealing. It looked like, oh, this is going to be great, because let's be real. In his older Tyler Perry movies at the beginning of Madea, his first like Diary of a Mad Black Woman, let's see, Medea's Family Reunion and some other ones, they were comical, they were good, they had good points, they had great messages and things like that. That's when, again, he was first coming out. But with this current Madea film, I agree. I feel like it was all over the place. I feel like the connections was not there. I felt like the backstory of these characters were random, and I would have liked to know a little bit more about the fiance. I felt like Tiffany did not have a lot of voice. I felt she had limited lines. I felt the main characters obviously was Madea, and that was that. I felt like they spent too long at the passport place. It didn't make sense. Just get the passport, okay? She running out to break glass didn't make sense because she thought that I guess they found her records of whatever she did in her past. So then she's running out, breaking the windows, and then they're just like, "Here's your passport." And after that, it goes to they're at the airport. Like it's like what was the whole point? That wasn't even funny to me, Again, the disrespect of the character of the fiance, I had an issue with that because how I see it, it's like, what type of man a woman dates reflects who she is. And I know for me, it's like if you're bringing home a man to meet your father and you don't prep him on how he should talk or how he should be, that lets me know you don't have enough respect for yourself or your father, because there's no way I'm going to bring any man to meet my father, especially if he's about to ask my hand in marriage or we're already engaged, and you going to disrespect my dad by saying what he said in the movie? Absolutely not. Because for me, that means you're not even worth me even saying I do too. Because if you can't respect my father, honey, you're not going to respect me in how he raised me. So for me, the fact that she didn't say anything, or she didn't prep him to be like, this is how I was raised. My dad and I had a, rocky relationship, but this is how you need to talk to my father. And then on top of that, towards the end, when you finally start seeing who this character is, barely, yet again, he comes from, I was in jail and this and that. It's like, how many times are you going to write a character of Black men always having a tragedy story? They didn't have a father. They came through, they were in jail. They ran through the streets. And okay, yeah, he's trying to get his GED and all that. But why couldn't it just be like that from the beginning? He went to school first. He was in college, or he was in the military, whatever the case may be. But he always has a backstory where it's pretty much the same of the male character coming off of drugs or was in the drug game, was arrested. It's every freaking Tyler Perry movie. The main characters are either super duper duper drug dealers, they're coming through hard life, they struggling, or they're super, super educated, but they're super bougie and they're super mean and they're super uptight. They're super conceited and they think they're better than everybody.
They're all different types of pieces of shit.
Right, exactly.
That's literally what people written as.
So to me, the backstory of the fiance was limited and it was annoying, but I was like, okay. And I felt like Brian, he could have been a little bit more hard on, like, if you go marry my daughter, you gotta learn to talk to some respect to me, whatever the case may be.
The man that respect.
And I felt like Tiffany had like no lines, which was random. First of all, her acting to me is horrible. I don't like how she acts. It's just annoying, in my opinion. It's like, girl, you can't act. That's just me. And I have not seen her in anything else. But maybe she has been in stuff. I just don't know it. But I just didn't like her acting. And Medea's friend, the short lady who was always super loud all the time, Bam. Her, to be honest, she's played that same character with no level of in-depth since we've no growth since we've been introduced to her. It's nothing different. She's just loud and she talks about the same thing all the time. She's flirting with guys who could be her great grandson or grandson, whatever the case may be. And that's that. I mean,
she wants to be a
you know what I'm saying? And it's just kind of annoying. Like, I mean, what part? Oh, and then again, also the brother, like you said, he was kind of like an in and out character. Like, you don't really remember who he was. I don't even know his name, but it was so annoying. His character irritated me. I was like, okay, so he's raised by his father, which is fine, but it's showing to me that Brian, his character is so like naive and so big on just keeping everything as one as a child that he has not even allowed his son to be growing to the man that he needs to be, which was a problem. You know, while his ex-wife is like, oh, be free, do whatever you want. There's no balance on both of them. Like, yes, your son is now 19. He needs to mature to be a man. He's a man now, you know, and yet the mom is just like, oh, be free. No, you need to let them know there's limits. You can do what you need to do, but within these boundaries for now until. Yeah, exactly. So the boy's character, the brother's character was random. It was annoying because I was like, what is happening? You have a lunch pail, you're 19. I didn't even understand. Like, parts of what they were saying was kind of funny. Like, when they were kind of doing ad libs, like how I normally think about things. Like, you got a lunch pail at 19. Like, what are you doing? Like, what is going on? So stuff like that was kind of funny.
Right. Things of that.
Right. You know, he was on the plane doing that. I was like, nah, that's a hot mess. But, you know, overall, I do feel like this film was rushed. I feel like he's trying to outnumber other directors. I could be wrong, but it feels like he's pushing out stuff like 20 projects a month because he has this new show out called Divorce Sisters on BET, which I refuse to watch. Yes. Don't plan on watching that at all. Based off of Sisters. So he got, you know, new seasons of Sisters, Divorce Sisters, a new episode, or new season, new series. Then you got Medea's Homecoming. Then he had something else that just came out not too long ago. It's just, he's doing a lot and I'm not knocking that, but the more he keeps pushing out, I just feel it's not right. It's rushed. Like, we all know, like, the Ryan Cooglers and the Stephen McQueens and the Ava DuVernays and the many other amazing directors, Cassie Lemons, they take a minute to write a movie. It takes a minute. It takes to write a quality movie. It does not take, 4 months. It takes a year or longer, So for him to write these movies, to me, it seems like he's writing these movies in 2 months and just be like, we're done. Send it and let's film it and this and that. And hey, do what you do. But it's just like quality, because I do feel like this particular film was like his amateur movie. Like even his first couple movies were great. They were way better than this. Like real talk. Like
they didn't have any foot trails are showing this is an amateur movie. It's my first go around.
Exactly. Like Diary of a Mad Black Woman, sorry. And then the next one was Madea's Family Reunion, which was great. Even Daddy's Little Girls with Idris Elba, Gabrielle Union, A Family That Prays with Sanaa Lathan. Like those I Can Do Bad All By Myself. Like those movies were pretty good. They were all depressing, low key.
And I definitely feel like this project may have been rushed due to he did release the movie Straw as well.
I forgot
a little earlier, like a month or two earlier.
Yeah,
and that movie was more of what you would expect from Tyler Perry, especially with the standard that he is. This man is in Forbes. This man is a billionaire. This man is brilliant. His mind is brilliant. And
that's a stretch.
I feel like maybe his focus might have been more on, for some of the things that he's put in there, it's like people would think about that type of stuff, but they're not going to say that out loud. And he's definitely one of those voices who's going to say certain things out loud, because with Straw, feel like that's where his focus probably was at, because they're both released in the same year.
Months
and
apart.
You can see the difference. Straw was definitely had more of his attention, just based off of the movie, and it was literally just mainly Taraji P. Henson in almost the same spot throughout the whole movie. Had Tiana Taylor in there. She did great in there. And they had that movie, I felt like it stood out on its own this year. Maybe Madea's Destination Wedding should have just came out next year. Or later at the end of the year to give it more time to be focused on, because it was just like, you can tell it was just scenes thrown together. And maybe the unedited version, if you look at it, is obviously going to be a lot longer, but it might make a lot more sense, because a lot of the things that we probably feel would make the movie make sense or just worth watching was probably cut out. Because it was confusing on most of the parts. There obviously had their comical parts, but there was some very confusing parts. Like the fiance's backstory was confusing. He doesn't have a relationship with his mom. Tiffany doesn't have a relationship with his mom, and that's how they bonded. So if they're bonding over mother trauma, why is he so disrespectful towards her father? But he's so nice towards her mother, who, if we're speaking over trauma, probably should be the one that doesn't deserve the respect, but for somehow she's the one receiving the respect. He did not disrespect her at all, even though he knows what his fiance has gone through, and off of his own experience, what he's gone through. Even when he did have interactions with Tyler Perry's character, Brian, the dad, towards the end, where he got a bit of his backstory to see, but he even let him know, like, I wasn't trying to prejudge you when I met you. It's just once you came at me basically crazy, I'm like, don't like you, which anyone would do. But he never once thought, like, okay, this is the parent that never hurt her. And the last time her and Brian had interactions in Boo 2, they had resolved that she thought her dad was too soft, too weak, too naive, and too gentle. They resolved that issue of her thinking her dad wasn't a man on those kind of standards. So how did we come to a place where she's allowing someone to disrespect someone else she has a level of respect for? That was very confusing.
Right.
I feel like they could have just played more into the comedy of Madea's character than at this point, where she's like going, okay, having issues getting out there, and then get out there and having issues with, or trying to be the problem solver that she normally is in the family in a lot of the movies, where she's solving the problems, like Medea's what I believe it was Medea's not family reunion, but it was the one that also had Tiana Taylor
Oh
and
yeah.
Shad
I
Moss
think
in
Family's
it.
Business or something. Family Business.
Family,
Big Happy
big
Family. Yeah,
happy
yeah, yeah,
family, I
yeah,
believe it
yeah.
is. Medea's Big Happy
Yeah.
Family, where she's the problem solver, and they had all this stuff going on. All these different characters' lives had a bunch of stuff going on, and she was able to be there to help the family get their stuff together. The same way with Medea's family funeral is similar to this movie, where it was a lot going on. It was almost about to lose you,
Mm-hmm.
and then but you finished the movie.
Right.
This one is, if anything, that one to me was probably before this movie came out. That was my least favorite, was Medea's family funeral, because I'm just like,
Oh
what?
yeah.
What are we doing? Why is this all over the
Yeah.
place? And then he one upped it with Destination Wedding, and I'm just like, where's that Tyler Perry we met when you came out? I guess from that hunger, that grit, the tell a
And
story. Just recently, last year, had the movie Divorce in Black, where it was
never
like,
saw that.
okay, it was on
Oh, I know.
Amazon, released on
I didn't want to
Amazon,
see
but
it.
it wasn't that bad. It was, the storyline followed all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I could watch it because the storyline's not all over the place. So I can, pay attention.
Yeah.
Where's those kind of the ones that made us fans of some of his work, like Diary of a Mad Black Woman, Family Reunion, where the storyline fell all the way through, and you enjoyed the characters,
It was
you enjoyed
inspiring.
their journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're watching, you're like, I like
Mm-hmm.
this. I loved his work. I would love to even work with him one day. I just want to see, I guess, that consistency on some of this stuff. And I definitely feel like just some of the other projects he had came out might have just taken more of the forefront of his focus for this. This is why you have a good team, but I'm like, they definitely should have redefined Destination Wedding. They hyped it up so much, and it was ended up being one of those things where all the good parts were shown in the previews,
Right.
and then some of those parts weren't even shown in the
Right.
movie.
No, facts. And I think also too,
it sucked what you
yeah,
in.
I think also too, me also being a screenwriter, having the doors open for other writers, because it's nothing wrong with what he's doing. I'm here for it, but I think he's in the process, or maybe he already has reopened the door for having other writers right besides him. But to me, I think that's important, because like he needs more in depth, more, layered characters. Like I did watch that movie, Mia Coppola, I guess Kelly Rowland was in that. And that came out, I think 2 years ago or something like that. I watched it. And again, it's the same storyline. She's a married woman struggling in her marriage, and she falls for this. Now, I'm real. The male counterpart was fine. That was a fine man that she played a role again. I ain't gonna knock him, but she fell for him, and he was, I think, a painter or something. And it's just that whole situation going on. Like it was still tragedy, trauma, just that whole thing. I did watch the whole thing. That was pretty decent, but it was parts of it where I'm just like, okay, I expected this. I have to admit that I did watch A Jazz Man's Blues, which was another Tyler Perry movie on Netflix, and that actually was pretty good. That was pretty good. The only thing I didn't like was the ending. It left me so confused. I was like, the ending just ended, and I was like, wait a minute,
Yeah,
I
I've
want
seen that
more.
one.
So the actual this movie was pretty good actually. It's just the ending. It made me feel like I don't know what's going on, and I didn't like how it just left you. It took you on a beautiful ride and then dropped you off the cliff and was like, well, enjoy. And that's that. so he has had a couple movies that were like in this past couple years. I was like, okay, this is cool. I'm with it. And then some I was just like, nah, I'm cool. I can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and definitely some of his regular characters he used are actresses and actors that he used in different projects. It's like some of them I'm like, I can't get jiggy with say I can't get jiggy with their work. I'm like, please grab someone else. This person annoys me on screen. But there are, when he does some of his true life stories, they seem to make him look like if he's taking a real life event and turn it into, which I guess he's trying to portray across a lot of his movies. But some of them just make more sense. Like I did enjoy the 6888.
Definitely.
It's one of those movies that made you look up the history of these women. And I feel like because he had so much to go off of for the history of these women, to put it on film was a little easier to do. He did use one of the characters from Sisters as the leading lady on there.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of gets on my nerves in Sisters. So she got on my nerves in that movie.
Yeah, facts.
To be 100% honest, she definitely got on my nerves in there because I'm just like, it's not like her acting is horrible, and her name is Ebony Obsidian, but she just some of the way she plays her roles, I'm just like,
it's irritating.
Do I gotta slap you and get it together over there? Like she's one of the people you're gonna smack and be like, get it together.
Yeah.
Because of the character that they give her, because she definitely does that in Sisters. A lot of the things that she, even though it's the way her character is written and she's just going off of the dialogue, she's definitely one of those people who like, because of the role she plays, makes you feel some type of way about the person.
Thank you.
And I know a lot of people do that because they have that issue with like characters from Power, where a lot of people really can't stand the actor who does Tyreek in real life, like because of how good he has a way of doing. But some people are really good at their character where you don't like them because it's too believable. Right. And you have people where you're just like, you annoy me in this character role. And that's why I don't.
Yeah.
Especially when you're a face that's haven't been a landmark, a staple in the industry outside of this kind of work. And this is where we're getting our encounters with you. This is our relationship built with you, or these kind of roles. It's like, oh my goodness, you couldn't get on my nerves any more than you already do. If I see you in person, I wouldn't even be like, oh, that's such and such. I'll probably treat you like a stranger.
Right.
And keep it moving from there. It's just, and because there are so many great actresses and actors out there that it's like, okay, if you're going to be on a platform that's getting this much attention, I'm gonna need you to come with that standard. Maybe you are good. I just haven't seen it yet. Or maybe my standards are too high. I don't know, but I'm not lowering them for anybody because there are, some really good shows out there, and Tyler Perry has a huge platform to work with. He has a lot of projects that are out running simultaneously, not just Sisters, All the Queen's Men with Eva Marcel in there. She's a beautiful lady in herself. In some of the projects she's worked in previously that weren't even Tyler Perry based, she's done well in her career from when we've seen her from top model to present day. And it's like, okay, we got really strong, entertainers. And these projects can diminish some of that light. It's like, oh, you're really good, but that project you was in just made you look really bad, or it might have flopped. And then some of them make it. The project probably would be a flop if anyone else was in that role. It wouldn't be good for that show in particular. I think if anyone else was in her role, it would not be what it is. I've watched a few episodes of his show Ruthless, and I'm just like, this is an insane. What the am I looking at? What in the baby Jesus? You save the world? Am I watching? I'm like, I hope my land to Georgia. What is this?
Yeah, I only watched one or two episodes of Ruthless first season. I was like, I'm done.
Holy water at the TV.
Yeah, I was like, I'm done. I watched one or two and I was like, I'm done. I watched a couple episodes.
It's not my cup of tea.
I was over it.
It's some people.
Yeah.
The Oval is so exaggerated. I feel like the first season was probably the best one, and then after that, it's just like, okay, how long we gonna keep doing this? You guys are having the same. It's the other soap opera shows, like it's The Guiding Lights, The Days of Our Lives. Yeah, but all of these shows, all these other daytime TV shows that's been running for half a millennium,
right,
are the same way. And it's just like, after so long, everyone in the town that dated the same people, it's the same scheming, scamming, tramping. creeping, the same secrets. It's the same thing over and over and over again. And it's like the Oval is like the bootleg version of Scandal.
100%. And we know
It's
Scandal was
definitely the
Scandal's
bootleg
better.
version.
Sorry, Scandal was 10 times better, 100% better.
That's the vibes it gives me because I'm like, it's the White House, it's the president, the wife, the side pieces, all this drama going on. I'm like, didn't they do this in Scandal? I'm like,
that's what everybody was saying. That's what everybody was saying when the Oval came out. Everybody was like, "Now you got the Oval going on, and season 5 or season 3 of Scandal. Come on now, like come on." It's like Scandal came out years before the Oval. All of a sudden, the Oval comes out. It's the same concept, Black woman lead, all these things. Like to me, it was more of a lower budget version of Scandal. That's just how I saw the Oval.
It has a lot going on.
Too much.
And I'm like,
too much.
Sometimes, if the show starts leading like that, like for me, it gives me vibes of like Empire, where like the first season might have some really good, decent episodes where like, okay, it has a storyline, it's following that, and it just goes wherever it want to go. It's traveling like a millennial at this point. By the second, third season, it is all over the place. It is a nomad traveler. It is booking flights and just gone. And I'm like, okay, what are we doing again? What's the point of this show again? I don't even know. What are we talking about? What are we doing? So a lot of shows I have stopped watching a lot because it's like I just can't. They don't grab my attention like they used to, or after the first season, it just goes so many directions. It's literally, at this point, I'm just like, it's the same thing you said last week, the week before, I'm not tuning in for this. And it's not just Tyler Perry shows. There's a lot of shows like that. That's why I don't typically go towards like regular television. As far as watching things, I'll watch documentaries, like I've said before in the past, of a bunch of murder kill, because I'll stay on ID channel all day. At least the storyline is already written because it's a true story. They can't flop that, and a lot of it is pre-recorded stuff. So there's nothing really thrown together, edited, other than the interviews, and it's easier to keep up. I do like a lot more of his movies more than I do his shows. I will say that his shows don't hold my attention as much as the movies, I guess, because the movies, most of them have a nice level of comedy in them, and the shows, they try to touch bases on like serious things, but then they got so much going on, it's just all over the place. It was like, okay, you lost me. Right. I don't even know what we're doing at this point. And he's had some movies where you're like, what the was that?
Right. For real. Yeah.
Like, why did we even, who was responsible for this part of the movie, this scene? I'm not a film writer or anything of that nature, so I'm just strictly looking at it from a viewer's perspective. From someone who's a consumer. Right. If I wanted to spend my last dollar on a sandwich or on this, I'd probably go buy the sandwich on some of these projects. And that's just my honest opinion. For you, sis, you're in film, based off of just his movies in general compared to his shows, what is your opinion as a filmmaker?
I would say that even both with his movies and TV shows, I feel like it's both the same thing. It's both characters on both elements are not really diverse. They're not really in depth. They're just pretty surface level characters. I prefer his movies more so than his TV shows, but the only TV show I watch is Sisters, and I really haven't watched the latest season. I started watching, I think it was season 5, and then I just stopped it, and then I kind of been just off his movies for a minute. I like his movies a little bit better, but even with that, he's really not on my radar anymore. He used to be the first few movies that he came out with, but that was when I was a teenager in the early 20s, and that was like 1,000 years ago. So it's definitely changed. But again, I don't knock what he's trying to do, because there may be a path in the future where we may cross, he and I, and he may see my work, or he may meet me in an event and wants to work with me. I introduce myself, and next thing you know, I'm working on a project together, or whatever the case may be. So on that level, I respect what he does 100%. He's giving us an opportunity. He built a studio, one of the biggest studios in the U.S. on a Confederate land. That's very monumental. So I appreciate that. It's honor. It's humbling. It's encouraging. At the same time, I just would like him to be more deeper and more diverse when it comes to writing characters of people of color, preferably Black people, African Americans, because not everybody can relate to welfare, or people being locked up and coming from that story. And that's okay if they can't. Not everybody can relate to being highly educated and then we're supposed to be bougie and this and that. It's these false narratives that, he kind of always delays with us. And not everybody's like that. So that's why when I watch other filmmakers and other directors, and how like the show Harlem, which I loved, it got canceled, but with Megan Good, and I forgot the other women's names, and Run the World. That was another show that was on Stars that ran for like one season, one or two, and then it got canceled. And then of course my favorite show, Insecure, with Issa Rae and Yvonne Orji, who I was in the same room with Yvonne Orji, and I didn't realize it was her until years later. I was like, oh snap, that was her. But like those women, those characters are beautifully written. They're in depth. They're relatable. Like that is what I'm talking about. Like just the storyline.
Time is taken on those characters.
Yeah, the character, how their description, the storyline, it's relatable. Like I know with Insecure. And shout out to Issa Rae. I hope to work with her one day for sure. She's freaking amazing. But like with her character Issa D and Molly's character, I mean, so relatable to me. That show came out exactly when I also was 29, just like the characters were 29 going on 30. So to me, it hit home. And it hit home, I think, to a lot of women who were in that space, whether they were younger or older or right at that age. And just how those characters' journeys developed, their friends, Kelly, and I think Tiffany was the name that Amanda Seal played, who I love. She saw her a couple years ago at one of her events, and she was a bomb.com, and just everything. Had front row seat, we made eye contact, and I was like, yes, girl, do your thing. It was just amazing. She's a bomb. The point is that their characters, whether they were sub characters or not, it just made sense. And it was just very in depth. And I wish, like with the characters like Sisters, they kind of came off that way, but they don't, So I would just say for me that as a Black woman who is a writer, director, and producer, to always make characters that are not just surface level. You have to make characters that have depths, that are fully relatable for all women and men, not just one demographic, And I think that's kind of where he may
and showing that growth of
go back and forth
characters is always important.
Yeah, it is. Exactly. And I feel like that's the space where Mr. Perry may need to expand his horizons on. Again, it's no bash to him, because one day I may actually meet him, and who knows, I may work with him one day.
It's just as a consumer.
So,
yeah, we would like to see this, especially from a Black filmmaker, an African American filmmaker who is a household name in the industry. And he makes a lot of his projects are strictly African American based characters. The cast are majority Black. We've seen you explore our struggles, but now show the world what the current Black average person lives like. We know our struggles. We live them. A lot of them, that's our day-to-day life. But show us a brighter side. Show us something to look forward to these days.
Right.
Because even the ones who have like successful businesses or have financially stable, or they're rich in the movie, they have this incredible, terrible time and tragic stuff going on. And it's like, that's, it's putting an image out there, like no matter whether we have money or not, because we're Black, our struggle is going to be a struggle. It's going to be just immensely worse than the rest of the world. It's never showing just like we need some happy beginnings too, not just happy endings.
Right. Right.
And that's important. And the character growth. Some of these characters, if we see them in 2 or 3, 4 movies, show some character development there. You put them in here because they're a likable character, but if they're telling the same joke, after some point, we're gonna stop laughing. And you hear that joke enough, it's not funny. You know, like how you said with Bam's character, she plays the same role over and over and over. And at some point, it's got to show, like, maybe if you showed this movie of her trying to be sober, and at the end, they go back to her being what people know her as. I'm like, oh, no, after dealing with this wedding and all these people, I had to go back to me. Like, that would have been a breath of fresh air showing, oh, she had turned a new leaf. And because of this, y'all didn't turn her back out.
But see, the thing
you know,
is,
something like that.
Right. But with her character, she hasn't played, I have never seen her in anything else but a Tyler Perry film. I have not seen her or half these other characters or people in anything else but his films.
Other works outside of his films.
Nothing. Except
other than people who already had their foot in the door.
Exactly.
Or inside the they, you know, they're in the driver's seat. And a lot of, I think they're A-list celebrities already. Or they used to be A-list celebrities, and, you know, they got a second win in some of his projects. You don't see a lot of them work in other, and they might. I've just never, you know, researched it or looked into it. I've only seen, like, when I see them a second time around or a third time around, they're in another Tyler Perry project. Like the character from Sisters. I've only seen her in Tyler Perry projects. And that might be where she feels comfortable, or it might be in her contract. I don't know.
Right.
But it's most definitely what I'm seeing for Ebony Obsidian. I only see her in those things. KJ Smith, I've only seen her in Tyler Perry's project. She's another member of the cast for Sisters. Outside of that, I've seen her in. Yeah, I've seen her play in the Family Funeral. Madea's Family Funeral.
Same.
And I'm like, oh, okay. And, you know, there's been some characters who are now like some of his regulars who already had a name out there. He puts Taraji in a few of his projects. Taraji P. Henson has been in a few of his projects, but she has, you know, a career outside of Tyler Perry's image.
Right. Exactly.
A lot of them are not in. I don't like to use the term for bad lack of words. I'm going to use it. A lot of them are not in the shadow of Tyler Perry. And then you have a lot of his actresses and actors who are, but some of them can hold their ground in the show, regardless of how it's written, to where the characters are likable. The character who plays Zach inside of Straw, who also is in the spinoff Zatima, from the series.
Duval Evans. Duval
yes. I've seen him in a project that was not Tyler Perry's. And so I was like, this is fresh air. It's refreshing to see. And some of them, because they've done projects in their much earlier days, so they were so fresh, they don't even look the same. And you're like, that was her.
Yeah. Well,
so I think that might be with the case. A lot of his a lot of the people he worked with. The person who plays Fatima, she was a stylist, and he gave her a shot. Crystal Renee Hazlett.
Yeah. And you know what?
You know, she was a stylist at first.
Right. And you know, with the guy who plays Zach, I actually was following him and his wife years and years ago. I think it was in 2017, 18, I was following them, and they had an apartment in New York, and it was just like, I guess they had 2 kids, just average family, just making content that was really funny. And no one, you know, knew who they were yet and all that. So I had been following them. And then I remember they moved to Atlanta and all these things. And I start seeing, then he got an acting role. And then I've been watching their family develop, which I'm so proud of them. And now his wife is actually one of the main characters on Divorced Sisters. So she's now acting. And, you know, so again, I give him kudos to how he brings people who you don't really know into these spaces of acting. I respect that. I just hope that in the future he continues to have more developed and more multi-layered characters that are not just one-sided, and that is not always bringing
Right. Show
trauma
some
and
real
tragedy to
growth. It doesn't even have to
characters.
be.
Pretty
Doesn't even have to
much.
be an exaggerated reach for like the characters to grow to
Yeah.
the next step in their lives. It doesn't even have to be like extremely exaggerated. Just so some growth. Just to make it where we can stay interested in obviously the character itself. To where we're like, oh, this character does this every week, every time. If they don't just off this character, like I've seen in some soap operas, I'm like, some of his shows can run for decades, but if they're gonna keep playing the same role for the same character, now they're getting older, and some of the trouble they're getting into, or some of the things they're going to, is at this point, it's just like, come on now, cut the crap.
Yeah.
That doesn't even make sense. It just don't water down the characters. Water them to grow. Don't drown them out. Don't oversaturate the character. And I get, he's making money off of what he's doing. He definitely is. He's a billionaire. It's as a consumer, somebody who watches movies, somebody who watches TV shows every now and then. I'm more of a movie buff. If I'm going to watch the movie, I want to enjoy it through and through. Because otherwise, what's the point of you making this project? I could have watched a movie that I'm already a fan of, that I can watch 1,000 times over, if that was the case. Especially when I'm already enjoying some of your work. If I start seeing you slack, it's like any other job. Okay, well, now you're not the employee of the month, such and such is. So, hold your audience. You have a platform, you have a pinnacle, you have something going on for yourself. So do that. You now have a standard set. Do that.
Right.
Stick to it. You set the bar, so you have to keep up with it. Don't set the bar and then drop the ball. That's what this really all is drawn down to. Tyler Perry, he's opened up the door for a lot of people, and he was blessed to have the door open up for him with his backstory, and he's made some movies that I really do appreciate. I have watched episodes from different shows he has made. I do enjoy his movies more, and I just feel like because he is someone who is a household name, and there's so many other people we can't talk about, we just chose Tyler Perry because we anticipated that movie so much, and I feel heartbroken that I was waiting for it. And then I got to it and I was like, what is this? It's like seeing the pictures for a resort you book. You get there and those pictures are from 20 years ago. It don't look nothing like that no more.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those feelings for sure. For me, it's definitely one of those feelings. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
That just happened.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think we should just wrap it up here and just an acknowledgement that, is no knock towards Tyler Perry. It's just that, I do respect his work. I do like him. I'm not a fan of everything, but again, I do like some of his movies, but, I respect Tyler Perry. We respect Tyler Perry. And who knows? We gonna manifest. We may still work with him in the future. You never know what could happen. Never know.
I respect his work.
Yeah.
I respect what he does. And I also basically want to let it be known that, hey, you're going to be great. You got to make sure you be great.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get that title, you got to keep it.
Exactly.
Keep it consistent. Keep it cute. Keep it consistent.
Exactly.
And hopefully one day when we meet him in the future, I'm going to manifest that now. He appreciates that we're just not over here going, oh, it's Tyler Perry. That's why it just automatically has to be good because it's him. I think having that honest criticism and people really looking at his films and his work, his shows, his projects for more than just from a fan's view, as just an honest consumer. Hard workers in film industry, you're a film writer, it's more appreciated when people are being honest about your work because then you know where you need to grow. And everyone still has growth to do. So, that's pretty much what it is.
Absolutely.
We'll respect the man, and when we meet him in the future, it's, hey, nothing but respect.
Absolutely.
And I hope that happens.
Same here. And that's it, y'all. That's it for this episode. So we appreciate y'all listening, and I hope you feel encouraged and, you know, watch these shows and movies and analyze it from a different lens if you haven't already. And, you know, we'll see you on the next episode.
Yes. Until next time.
Till next time. That wraps up another episode of Don't Trip Sis. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, small circle, clear mind, happy heart, private life, peaceful days. See you next time.